NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
Welcome to
You're listening to the NSCoder Chicago podcast. Here we talk about topics related to Apple, software development, career, and technology in general. Sometimes, many times, we even get into AI. Happy New Year, and thanks for joining us for episode 8. My name is David.
And my name's Sean. NSCoder is a monthly meetup here in Chicago. We get together on the last Tuesday of every month to talk about pretty much the same stuff we talk about on the podcast, but in person. Often we also have a presentation from one of the members of our community. It's a good time, and it's catered, and it's hosted by Expedia downtown. So if you'd like to learn more, we'd love to see you. Look for us on meetup.com or head to our website, nscoder-chicago.com. All the links are there for you. All are welcome. Come by anytime.
Yes, and if this goes out for our normal schedule, the next one should be in just a couple weeks. Is that right?
Yep. Yeah. As we're recording this, the next one should be January 27th, Tuesday.
If you're interested in joining, then make sure to get it on your calendars. You still got a couple weeks to plan for it.
Yep. I'll put it up on Meetup before this episode goes out, so
Awesome.
everyone can find it.
Awesome.
As an engineering manager over the years, the most difficult career conversation is often to figure out, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
So I talk to people on my team, and they'll say, oh, I want money or power or fame or I don't know, but in the absence of something concrete, a goal to work towards, it's really hard to just come up with growth with goals. So I've used software role models as a framework to figure out, what is one person, what do we admire in a software product, in a way of working, in a way of being, how other people see us. There's lots of cool stuff wrapped up in here. So I figured it'd be fun if we could talk about software role models over the years, like people that either publicly or privately, people we worked with or people we saw on the scene that we looked up to, that we were like, oh, I'd like to be like that.
Yeah, I feel like naturally, just like getting involved with this and working with it for so long, you're bound to see or bump into someone that you really just admire their work, whether it's their work ethic or what they produce, and they end up being someone you kind of set your bar to try and meet.
Exactly.
Whether that ever happens or not.
It's good to have goals.
Yeah, this sounds like a great topic.
So if you go back to, high school me, I've talked on this podcast before about how Mac OS 10 came out, blew my mind. I would Google for just anything. Like I remember Mac OS hints on the Mac OS 10 page. Any software, anything. I was just like, voracious for all stuff related to that. And so in those early days, before I really wrote any software at all, I looked up to, there was the first one was a company that made things called Haxies. Mm-hmm. And if you were there, if you know, Haxies were, I believe they were kernel extensions that hacked Mac OS 10 to provide certain functionality that Apple didn't.
Oh, and when you say hack, do you mean like using like secret APIs and stuff, or was it just like, oh, okay, wow.
Yep, they were swizzling, they were using private APIs, they were doing whatever. It would not stand up to today's security measures.
Okay.
It was a hack for sure.
Wow. In the realest sense.
Yeah. But the two I loved were like in classic Mac OS 9 and before, you could double click the menu bar and there was a thing called window shades where the window would like whoop right in place would go up into the menu bar. And that has never been supported in Mac OS 10. And so these Haxies provided that through kernel extension and some, I'm sure some nasty swizzling. And the other one was a customizable Apple menu. again, in classic Mac, you had a customizable Apple menu. You could put stuff in it. And so there was a Haxi that let you put whatever you wanted in the Apple menu. That was so
Hmm.
cool.
I'm realizing you're using the word swizzle or swizzling, and there might be developers who have only just started in the past,
Oh, yeah.
year, 2 years, 3 years, who may not have heard of that term. Do you want to describe that?
Yeah, Objective C has a runtime. There's the C that you write and a compiler and all that, but part of the system is a runtime that sends messages from one bits of code to other bits of code. And um, swizzling is basically impersonating another bit of code. So your code tells the system, oh yeah, I'm definitely the window manager. So you just send that message to me. Uh and so it has it has valid uses, for
Mm-hmm.
actual products.
Mm-hmm.
It can, um like any powerful tool, it can also be dangerous, like a,
Right.
sharp knife in a kitchen.
Yeah, the way I kind of imagine this is it's a less recommended way to override functions. Like, most people are probably familiar with inheritance and how you can kind of build on top of the super classes function. Uh, but you can also, through this method called swizzling, access that specific class and just replace the function completely.
Yep.
You override it. And so that's why it's dangerous, because there might be things happening in that function that need to happen, that other framework functions might rely on, that you might not be aware of. And so by replacing that function, the original functionality, you may cause gaps for other places in the framework. But yeah, that's how I imagine it in its simplest term, is basically overriding the an existing function for an existing class.
Yeah, well said. Yep. Yeah, because if you're trying to get to a private API or methods that the system doesn't want you to get to, then uh you swizzling's more or less the only way to do it. You can't sort of subclass it. Um
And
and
Apple
then I
didn't
remember,
like you doing this, right?
yeah, oh yeah, you would get rejected from the App Store. But again, this was, in the year 2000. This was a
Mm-hmm.
long time before any App Store.
Yeah.
Security was much more lax.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
um they made, this company, I can't even remember what it was called. I'm gonna have to Google it later. But this company made Haxies, and just open up, I open up Xcode, or I Google for stuff, and I'm like, it's just incredible. Like, it's like watching, it's like in Amadeus, where I'm like, learning the piano, or I made something cute, and then I look like Mozart comes in, and these
Uh,
people these people were like, watch this, and the whole
oh,
system just opens up and explodes.
that's a familiar feeling.
And it's funny, and one of the things that I'll say for all these people I bring up is that, like, now, years later, I through the internet, I
Mm-hmm.
don't know them. I just sort of follow
Mm.
them. But
Mm-hmm.
one of the principal engineers there, I think, worked for Apple for a while
Okay.
later, and now I follow on Mastodon. Never said their name out loud. Rosna Keller.
Hmm.
They continue to hack on Apple. They were talking recently about how they submitted a bunch of bug bounties for security things, and
Nice.
got paid for those. So
Oh
yeah,
man.
just really cool to see there's still, just
Yeah.
a incredible mastery of the system.
Yeah, they're still working the craft.
Yeah.
Um yeah, I've been surprised to see that a little bit myself. So many times it's like your favorite artist in a band or something will like they'll like disappear and never create anything again. But that's been the nice thing about developers. They seem to keep on developing, even if they were more public before and have gone a bit more silent, in recent times.
Yep.
But
Oh
yeah,
man.
still out there kicking.
Yep. The uh the other, like, from the outside sort of role model, um was the Delicious Monster team. Um I think it was a designer and an engineer. I remember Will Shipley was the engineer, and they made um, a sort of library management app, which now seems kind of silly. Like, why would anyone pay for that? But it was so beautifully designed. It was such a Mac. It was one of those apps that you would like show to people. It'd be like, well, why should I get a Mac? And you're like, well, you get
Mm.
iMovie and you get photos, and then look at this. Uh, and so I admired so much in him, or the company, the fact that he went indie. Like, he did not work for anybody. He built his own product. He sold it, and I think made a good living.
Nice.
It was so beautifully designed. It was such a joy to use. It considered everything, and that this is, I think, what Delicious Library came out. Yeah, 2004. So a few years later, I'm more of an adult, and I look to that as a sort of lifestyle example. I'm like, oh, that would be great to like make my app, sell it for money, be indie. And this was before we had all these indie devs and before the App Store. So like,
Yeah.
real trailblazers in the independent Mac app.
Yeah. That's awesome. Honestly, that's the kind of life I'm shooting for right now.
Yeah, you're doing
Literally. Yeah. 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 Fingers crossed.
it. Yep. So then the last of the oldies is and you can meet this guy if you come to the NSCoder meetup. Well, he doesn't come as often as he used to, but as I mentioned, I would search for anything. I was voracious for any content related to Mac OS X. Were there any things I could do? What do I do with the terminal? How can I program? What's Objective-C? And one of the earliest websites that I visited constantly was just HyperJeff's Mac OS X page. And Jeff, HyperJeff Biggis, is in Chicagoland, or no, he's in Chicago. He has come to NSCoder. He comes to NSCoder occasionally.
Yeah, awesome guy, really nice.
Yeah, he's the best. And so even before I knew him, and I was so starstruck when I first met him, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I was like, you're HyperJeff. Oh my gosh.
Did he have a good reaction to that?
No, he was just like, uh-huh.
Oh wow. I had the complete opposite introduction to I hadn't heard of him, unfortunately, yet, because I was so new to iOS just 10 years ago. But I thought he was a very nice guy, and he talked very technical about lighting and shaders at that time. He was really into.
Oh yeah.
Really smart guy, and really nice, like super nice to just talk to.
Yep. Yeah. And so before I knew him personally, I was so impressed because his Mac OS X page was just so curious. There was so much. Just he explored everything, and so like maybe it wasn't directly related, but he'd figure out like some Python thing or scientific programming, or he'd make a little toy app that did, and like just like incredible to have that sort of breadth of interest. And then, as you just said, when I met him personally, I realized he was such an incredibly gracious person.
Yeah.
He was not jealous or guarded at all. He was like, yeah, here's everything I know. Isn't this cool? Like he's presented at NSCoder in the past about the shaders, about graphics libraries, about PDF management, just so he can read more.
Okay.
He reads. He's a crazy reader. He reads a ton. God, what was the other thing? There's the Accelerate framework. And the Accelerate framework allows you to do a bunch of matrix math really quickly, which is super valuable for graphics and scientific applications. And just incredible breadth of knowledge and just a joy to talk to. And so, over the years, I've always just said like, man, WWHJD, what would HyperJeff do?
That's awesome. I don't know if I saw that talk that he gave on Accelerate, or if he just mentioned it in conversation at some point. That and Metal, I think.
Oh yeah.
Were the frameworks that he really harped on at the time I met him.
Yep.
I just remember my thought the whole time I was talking to him was like, wow, this is a really smart guy. This guy's like he's
Yeah.
talking about all these technical details, like it's just like it's Pokemon or something, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
He's super smart.
So those were all sort of publicly available, and then I'd be I I want to also shout out people that I've actually worked with, although I don't think they'll ever listen to this, but um I Ellen Shapiro, who has an internet presence, like you've if you're listening to this, you probably met her at an NSCoder or saw her at one of her conference talks, but Ellen just has limitless energy and enthusiasm. Like I mean, who knows about her inner life, but externally, it's incredible that she would, like, when we were working together a few years ago, she went home over the weekend and like redid like an entire presentation layer, this huge app. I was just like, I couldn't stand it anymore. I just wanted to get rid of it. And so just like always, just that boundless enthusiasm. Like I always envied that because I'd be tired and I'd be like, oh, whatever. And and she's like, oh, let's go.
I gotta like find out like a good source of energy like that.
Yeah, it's so hard to get back to that. Like, just this is so cool. We're playing with computers here.
Right.
And then I mean, this guy will definitely never listen to this, but a guy that I worked with at Active Campaign was in like DevOps infrastructure stuff, but he was sort of outside of iOS. He was a back end sort of jack of all trades. And the thing I took from him, or I always admired from him, is that he always had the exact correct amount of give a shit.
Oh,
so I would be like, oh, I can't believe we're doing this. And he's like, oh, I get paid the same. I guess we'll do that. Or I'd be like, oh, this is broken. And he's like, no problem. We'll fix it. We'll figure it out.
Nice.
And so that's another, slot that into my vision board. Like that's what I want to do. I want to find the exact right amount of give a shit. Like don't want to be stressed out. Don't want to be, unenthusiastic, but like just find that good balance.
Yeah. I kind of relate with that balance, but maybe in a less admirable way where like at some point the job just becomes a job and I'm like, all right, that's the thing I got to do today,
So maybe that's a future topic. So is that good or bad?
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Maybe good and bad sides to it, or maybe there are good and bad ways to go about it.
Yeah. So that's a quick run through. Those are my sort of like how I've thought about role models or people I've admired in software
Awesome
archetypes over the years.
I notice a lot of it has to do with their personality and character along with their development, like the personality and character seems to matter a lot there. Do you think there's a reason why that stands out specifically? Do you feel like you'd rather work with the awesome person than the genius asshole?
Oh yeah. I mean that's the cliched sort of trade-off, right? It's like you can be smart and miserable or happy and dumb.
Sure, yeah. There's like that naive bliss idea, right?
Yeah. In popular culture, like
yeah.
But yeah, like 100 times over, 1,000,000 times over, infinite times, I would pick the person that's easy to work with and excited and curious over the, genius jerk.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, at least for me, the more time I've spent in the software development career track, the more I've realized that's a lot of people there. There are going to be some companies that definitely want the smartest that they can find, the fastest developer, smartest developer, but there's a lot more companies where they're just trying to make a living and not have to deal with too much trouble.
Yeah. What's the aphorism? Like, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. I'm messing it up.
I think you're right. I think that's right.
Yeah.
It sounds right to me.
Because even well-meaning companies, like let's pick on Amazon. Amazon's like, oh, we just hire the best. It doesn't matter. We just technical skills. But these people still have to work with each other.
Right.
Nobody nobody at a company of sufficient complexity works alone.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I think everyone, probably every software developer at some point has cared about being the best developer they can be.
Hmm.
Um, and sometimes that does mean sacrificing more of the like human sides of life. I'm gonna stay up, late and chip away at this project that's gonna be super great for my portfolio.
Hmm.
Um, I'm gonna make sure I know these latest frameworks really well so that I can talk about it and win every argument on it. But if you focus too much on that side of things, you do start to lose like the human connection side of life, and maybe that's okay for some people, especially those who are just looking to get the biggest check from the biggest tech company they can find. But I think you do yourself a real disservice if you don't try to have some kind of healthy bond with the people that you see every day on a regular basis. Maybe these days it's not even every day, at least every week or something.
Yep.
But these are real people with real lives, and real opportunities for good friendships and community and someone you're probably going to remember for the rest of your life, whether you keep in touch with them or not, you
Yep.
know. And so yeah, I think it's worth investing in the human side of things just as much as the technical side of things.
Yep. Yeah, I agree.
If you're really lucky, you're like Hyper Jeff, where you're just great at both.
I, I wonder if he's ever gonna listen to this. He'll be like, we get it. We get it. tell me, tell me. Yeah, who are you guys? Tell me your references.
Yeah, yeah. So, mine are a little less focused on the people and personalities in my life, which I'm kind of like, maybe I should have thought about that a little bit more. It's a little more focused on the software products that I've really tried to, set a bar for and meet myself in terms of quality and experience. And so the first role model that I have is Monument Valley. It's made by a company called Us2. Back when Monument Valley came out, there's a few different versions of this now. I think there's like 2 and 3. And when the first game came out, it made headlines for being such a beautiful game, so thoughtfully crafted in terms of not just the graphics, the look and feel of it, with the music, how everything fit together, but also in the puzzle. As you progress through the game, you really felt like you were unfolding a kind of story or experiencing a very specific kind of atmosphere by the way that they crafted it. I think I read somewhere that one of their goals was to make it so that every screen that you saw at any point uh, was poster worthy. And so you could take a screenshot, you could print it large and put it on the wall, and it would look great as a poster. I thought that that was such a great goal to have that that's something that I've really held on to for the rest of my development lifetime. I can't say that I've lived up to that, but it's something that I keep in mind, and it's like, how can I make this something that I'd be willing to put on the wall? Um, and there's a lot of ways you can make it the opposite of that. If you don't care at all, everything ends up looking like a settings screen.
Those are the inside you. There are two apps: a settings screen and a poster-worthy screen.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when it launched. It was a blast. It was like
Oh
a
yeah.
mega hit. It was
Mhm.
everywhere. But that's such a great goal for
Mhm.
design to anything you screenshot could be poster
Right,
worthy.
right. And like what an amazing thought, because I mean, like, at the end of the day, an app is a utility. It's a tool that you use. It's not like I mean, I don't know, like maybe some people might be willing to put their hammer or wrench on the wall as a piece of art. But it's not the most intuitive thing to think like this tool that I'm using to accomplish this goal needs to look like a piece of art.
Mhm.
Um and it really does make you consider things in a different way. It becomes less about achieving the functionality, which you can do in many different ways, and it helps you to really focus on what makes something feel good, what makes it look
Yeah.
great. what makes the user really enjoy it. Um, and I feel like if you focus on that, you can't go wrong, you know? Or maybe you can, and maybe it ends up performing terribly, you know? But hey, that affects the user experience too. No, it's got to perform great, actually.
Yeah. Sorry. I love that you're like you have like a real solid message. You're like, yes, this is a core value, this is an ideal, or not.
You know, in my mind, I could be a bit of a contrarian. I'm always looking for the
Yeah, yeah.
the opposite, but um, yeah, yeah. Monument Valley, great art direction, and they are a guide for me. You know, and it's funny because I don't even like look at them constantly. I don't. It's they're a role models that you're like obsessed with and you keep coming back to. They're less of that for me, and they're more of like just like they've left such a deep imprint on me, you know, and what I want
Yeah.
to achieve. And in fact, I actually just looked them up before this podcast, and I'm like, oh wow, they've still got stuff going on. Monument Valley 3 was one of them that I saw, and um, yeah, I need to check out more of their stuff. But great art direction, and you can't go wrong following in their footsteps. Um, the second that I have is a specific developer. His name is Riley Testut. Um, and I believe he's an open source contributor. He worked on this. What I know him for, he's worked on several things, but what I know him for is the work that he put into this project called GBA for iOS. That's Game Boy Advance for iOS, and what it did was it emulated the Game Boy Advance experience. I think other ones too, Game Boy Color, uh, maybe even Nintendo DS. I think there's a few different flavors that he worked with, but the name that really stuck out was GBA for iOS, and that just made it so you could play all of the classic Game Boy Advance games on your phone, which is great because there was a time where there weren't a lot of like uh, uh, deeply and thoughtfully and what's the word, like well produced games on the App Store. But the Game Boy games, these were created, sometimes decades ago, and ended up being classics that people wanted to experience time and time again just because they were, so much fun, made so well. Um, you know, Even today, if you pick up an iOS game, it might be fun for like 10 minutes, or if you're lucky, you might find something that you're obsessed with for like a couple weeks. But I feel like it's not often that you experience a game that you really feel like you enjoy the entire story for weeks, maybe months, or keep coming back to it every year or something, like over the long time. It's hard for me to think of a game that released on iOS in recent times that I've had that kind of relationship with. But for Game Boy Advance, of course, or like Game Boy in general, there's tons of those games. There's Zelda, there's Pokemon, there's Mario. Um and so I really enjoy having access to those games on the phone. Getting back to Riley Testut, what he did was he made these games available on iOS, and he did it in a way that just felt so native to the iOS environment, because there were other emulators out there, but they were kind of hacky and they didn't feel great to use. But Riley Testut, he made a nice UI to wrap it all in. He had things like auto save, and you could even do like multiple saves so you can jump back a few points. It was a little more functional than just the normal Game Boy Advance. Yeah, that was something that he was creating, and actually couldn't put into the App Store. He was just making this on his own, and so you had to sideload it. Uh, Fortunately, the rules of the App Store have changed, and it's available in the App Store today. Um, and part of the by not being allowed to put it in the App Store, I think that inspired him to work on something else called the Alt Store, I believe, uh, where you can. I'm pretty sure it's legal today. You can sideload these apps, and Apple's okay with it.
Well, depending on your jurisdiction. In the EU, right, you can the alt store is good, but here in the United States, I don't think there's any official way to
Oh, is that
get to
true?
it.
Yep, you're right. There it is. Available only in the European Union. Yeah, and so clearly he's had a little bit of frustration with the App
Oh
Store and
yeah.
what they've allowed him to upload. Uh, but like I said, these days Apple is okay with GBA for iOS, which he's rebranded. It looks like as Delta. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, he's also worked on this alternative way to get apps as well with another person named Shane Gill. It looks like. Um, but yeah, this is like great quality software that he's just making in his own time. Um, maybe it was just the nature of not being able to upload in the App Store, but a lot of his stuff is, available on GitHub. As far as I remember, you're like free to like, fork it and remix it as you like. Just peek inside, see what's going on. And this isn't unusual for emulators for iOS at all. But he made his apps work at a quality that just felt finished. Um, and that's never necessary in the open source community. In fact, there's a lot of
Oh
stuff
wow.
that doesn't feel finished.
For sure.
um, and there's something I think about I don't know, the artistic craft, just not only the great experience, but like the drive to like do that, and without any real like push from like a company giving you a paycheck or anything like that. So yeah, he's one of my role models who I think of whenever I'm thinking of people who've created great things.
What I'm hearing is, Riley built not only a technically impressive thing, because like putting an emulator on iOS, especially in the old days,
Hmm.
was not straightforward, just in terms of
Oh yeah,
programming.
I
Like,
think there's a lot of C++ in there.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
the I remember actually, personal aside, I remember playing God, what was it called? Mario versus Donkey Kong. It was a game where
Okay.
you like you on the GBA where you played as Mario and you had these it was like a puzzle game, not like a traditional Mario game.
Hmm.
But I played it on the emulator that I had installed. Can't remember if I had jailbroken my phone at the time or if I had installed from source. But either
Mm.
way, I was playing it and the frame rate was horrible because
Mm.
this was, a million years ago and the phone's processor was anemic. But
Hmm.
it worked, dang it. It was a great game, even with a terrible frame rate.
Yeah, and it's these kinds of experiences that remind you that you can pretty much do anything with technology. You've just got to kind of carve that path out. Sometimes that path is more difficult to carve out because it's not supported by Apple,
Yeah.
and the technology exists for some other platform, and you have to find some way to make it work.
Yep.
But if you really put your head to it, and if enough people put their heads to it, then
Yeah.
you can accomplish some really impressive things.
Yeah, Riley, from again, I don't know him personally, but from the outside, he took on this technically difficult thing. He built a product that, leaned into the platform and was respected the conventions of iOS. And
Hmm.
then also there's the, I don't know, culture, uh legislative, regulatory changes to
Yeah.
get to the EU
Oh yeah.
and I think some countries in Europe too.
He was ahead of the curve a little bit.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I just, gosh, either I wish Apple would just standardize across the board
Hmm.
to the lowest common denominator, but I imagine they'll probably they'll need a law
Oh
to
yeah.
force their hands.
Yeah, Apple's always
But
been
yeah.
a company of control, I think, and not necessarily in the evil sense of it, but in the sense that they want to make sure the experience you have is intentional, is safe,
Yeah.
is
Yeah.
well designed. And you can't do that if you allow people to just do whatever they want with your devices.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That said,
That's what they say. I know. Yeah.
if it's your device, you should be able to do whatever you want, right?
Yep.
next topic I thought would be interesting to talk about is imposter syndrome. This is something we brought up just briefly in a past episode, but something that I think is relevant to a lot of software developers. Many people, almost everyone experiences it at some point, whether you're in software or not. But in case you're new to the term, imposter syndrome is the idea that uh, you might not be the person that you were hired to be. Maybe you were hired as a software developer and you feel like actually you're just an amateur hacker who's barely, done enough to get the yes for the job, and now you have to prove yourself. Uh, but oftentimes, imposter syndrome, uh, I almost want to say it's not a valid feeling, but that it's a totally okay thing to feel. But it's not true that you're an imposter, because when you end up looking at what you had to do to get that job, and how you convince those people, most of the time there's valid work behind it, and they want you to keep doing that work just on the job now. Um, and it's mostly just a mindset. It's something you can usually rationalize yourself your way through. Um, and at the end of the day, you usually get that job because someone knew that you were capable of doing it. Um, but yeah, this is something I've of course experienced myself, and just kind of fought through. How about you, Sean? Have you ever experienced imposter syndrome?
I don't think I've ever experienced imposter syndrome in the, classical sense.
Okay.
Um through the burnout that I experienced last year, that I've
Mm-hmm.
alluded to, talked about a little bit on this podcast. I sort of felt that, I was if I had only worked harder, if I only worked differently, like a lot of self blame.
Mm.
But I think that's a different flavor. So I don't think I've personally experienced imposter syndrome.
Okay.
It's
Maybe that's
it's funny
because you
because
started pretty young with programming, right?
maybe, I mean, the reason I'm hesitant to say
Mm-hmm.
imposter syndrome is because I think I'm curious what you think, but
Okay.
in myself and in working with a wide range of people over the years as a, an adult
Mm-hmm.
knowledge worker,
Mm-hmm.
I think very few people calibrate correctly. So I know a lot of people that are overconfident, a lot of people that are underconfident,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
it's usually the wrong people on the wrong side. I've
Oh,
had
okay.
incredible colleagues
Mm-hmm.
where I'm like, get confident. You're the best. Don't you
Sure.
understand how great
Yeah.
you are?
Yeah.
And then I've had other colleagues that are garbage and they're like, I'm the best. I'm so
Oh,
smart.
sure. Yeah. Yeah.
The psyche is a strange thing.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, look, I think of myself and I think like there are definitely times where even starting a new job, you show up and you've got through the interviews and you got hired and you're ready to go, and then you show up and you're like, I have no idea what I'm doing here.
It's like, I've
I
tricked
am a
everyone. Why am I
fraud.
here? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. They're going to find out that I have no idea what I'm doing and I'm just making it up, and that'll be that. I'll be destitute.
Right.
Um, but yeah, like with all yeah, I guess I'm projecting, but the
Mm.
things that helped me were just clear feedback. Everybody
Mm.
needs an editor.
Mm-hmm.
So starting in a new job, I just want my boss or my colleagues to say, "Yeah, you're doing fine. Like
Yeah.
you're meeting expectations or exceeding expectations."
Mm-hmm.
Or, nobody wants to embarrass themselves. So a
Right.
little uh, you know, um hints and help,
Mm-hmm.
don't do that. When you did that, it looked bad.
Mm.
Try this other thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's just feedback. In that
Yeah.
absence of actionable, clear, structured feedback, I think even the most confident people can struggle.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. I'm thinking back to my different jobs and whether or not I received enough feedback.
Well,
Um
yeah. What is if you feel comfortable sharing with the group,
uh
what are some of the worst environments or bouts of imposter syndrome for you?
Oh man, the interesting thing is the worst environment that I experienced didn't have to do with imposter syndrome at all, but maybe I'll come back to that. But speaking specifically to imposter syndrome, I was in a unique position where, in my first real iOS role, that so you're familiar with Vocal, obviously.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, they had an internship there where I worked for 3 months, which was awesome. Thing about that role is you're still very much in a learning kind of mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so it's hard to feel like an imposter where you're literally there to learn. Um, but in my next role, uh, I worked at a news company with one other developer who left just a few months after I joined. Um, Worked there for oh shoot, I might be mixing things up now, but a year or two, not more than 2 years. I'm like, no, I worked there for 2 years. Yeah.
Yeah. It was either a day or 10 years,
Yeah, exactly.
somewhere in there.
But most of the time I worked there because, like I said, the only other developer I worked with left a few months afterwards to work on a completely different platform. Um, he, I was responsible for the development of that project. The maintenance of it. The architecture and direction of it. Any new features that came out only came out because of me. It's hard to feel like
Yeah.
an imposter in that situation too. Um, but I think there is there might be a difference between can I do the job and am I the person, or am I the type of person, or
Mhm.
was I meant to do this job? Does that make sense?
I think so.
So
Like
there are some
I
people who maybe grow up on a farm with their family and they're like, I'm meant to be a farmer. I don't know that I
Gotcha.
grew up feeling like I'm meant to be a software developer. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
It's that kind of feeling where the identity wasn't 100% there. You know that I came from an art background, and
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I wasn't always focused on software development. And so there were definitely many moments, whether it was a solid stretch of time or even just sprinkled in throughout all of my time. Well, maybe less in the last 5 years. After you prove yourself for 5 years to yourself, you're pretty confident in what you do.
I hope
But
so.
but like especially that first probably 5 years sprinkled in between all of that is like I strong armed my way into this career and I don't even know if I'm really a software developer. But I
Yeah.
can do this and I'm gonna do this and I'm gonna keep doing it. Uh um and then there's when I was teaching myself programming, I definitely I don't know if it was imposter syndrome or just like self-doubt. There was a good couple years where I was reading programming books trying to teach myself programming, like I said, coming out of art school, not really having that technical background. And as I was reading everything and trying to digest it, understand it, internalize it, use that information in some way, it just wasn't sticking. And there was a big part of me that was like, I'm clearly not meant to do this. you know, my
Yeah.
brain doesn't work like this. Um, I don't know what other people are like who are able to do this, but it doesn't seem like me.
Yeah.
Like I don't know how their brains work. My brain doesn't seem to work that way. Um, but I wasn't giving myself enough credit for being able to learn it over time, or maybe I just wasn't patient enough when I was feeling those feelings. Uh,
Yeah.
because in truth, after you see the same terms, the same ideas, uh, see the same kind of practices, you're always going to open Xcode, you're going to like write some boilerplate or, delete some boilerplate, write some basic, all of that stuff. You see it enough times, you see it a dozen times, you see it 100 times, it just starts to feel more and more natural.
Yeah.
And what I was expecting was something more akin to my art experience, where it's like, oh, you learn to brush or stroke the brush in this way, and you get that kind of look, and you do it on your first try, you know.
Well, listen, I've tried to pick up painting.
Okay, that's fair. That's
It's
fair.
not that easy for me.
I'll say I've been, into art from a very young age, so maybe I had
Yeah,
it a little easier there. But I will say software development did not feel as natural as that, you know.
yeah.
It took some hammering of that information into my brain before I was really able to apply that information. And even then, it's like, even after you can recite all of the information, you know, like once you can discuss it with other people, say it back to yourself, really feel like you have a good mental model of it, that you really understand it, there's still a part of you that feels like you forced that Lego piece in there, you know?
Yep. It's so um sad. It's
Mm,
it's it's I think programming is unique among professions
mm-hmm.
that maybe art as a profession, but like I don't hear like accountants say, "Oh, I've been balancing books since I was 4 years old."
Oh, sure, sure.
Uh
Mm-hmm.
like I think with art, with music, with any skill, it's
Mm-hmm.
easier if you're younger, right? Like your brain is more plastic,
Oh, sure.
uh
Yeah.
more flexible.
Mm-hmm.
You're too dumb to know
What you don't
like
know?
how
Yeah.
difficult it is. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
But it's funny because I hear that same refrain and I felt it too, like um you're banging your head on your keyboard trying to program something, or you're
Mm-hmm.
starting a new project and you're like, I can't do it. Like, I was not
Mm-hmm.
meant to do this. I am obviously a dummy because I look at these other, we talked about role models. I look at these other
Right.
people and it's so easy, right?
I was just thinking of that, yeah. I was looking at Riley Testut hacking an emulator into his Xcode project, and I'm like, How did he even connect that you could do
Yeah.
that?"
And I can't even make a UI view show up. God
Right.
darn, dude.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I
Yeah.
I would say that there was no specific time or stretch of time on a job where I thought that I shouldn't be here, but it was that kind of sprinkled in feeling, maybe a background feeling, not even a constant background feeling, that like, oh, I really pushed myself into this field, and now I've got to prove myself. But just like I mentioned with the books, after like a couple years of like banging that information into your head, it begins to feel more natural. And after, a decade of doing the same thing, it feels more than natural. It feels second nature. It's
Mhm.
like literally you just think in code sometimes, if you got a problem to solve, it's easy to like imagine like what that would look like on the screen. Um
Yeah.
I actually think back to the philosophy classes I took in college. Did you ever take any philosophy classes, especially the logical ones and I mean like pure logic, where you were writing out like arguments?
I never took pure logic, no, but I'm
Okay.
familiar with the diagrams and notation. There's some
Hmm.
class I took that I had to do that. Maybe that was a math class.
Okay. Yeah, I only dipped my toe into philosophy with one class, and it happened to be like the most math, oriented philosophy class there was. But basically, it was like it was a whole semester of learning that like premise plus premise equals conclusion, and if all of that is true, then you can use that as a new premise. uh and that's just a really basic way of saying of adding up ideas, or like kind of progressing to like more complex ideas. I feel like my programming has built on top of that forever, and because of that, I almost think of programming as an extension of like any like philosophical ideas or just like life ideas that I have. Like you should be able to build them in that very Lego kind of way. I'm really thinking a lot about Legos today, but
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. But yeah, I would say definitely a familiar feeling imposter syndrome is a familiar feeling, but it's hard to point to a specific time where it really hit me hard. It's more of just something that's been there, sprinkled in here and there, and luckily has not been there for a while. Um, Now it's just like it's less of like, can I do this? Am I meant to do this? And now it's more of like, I just got to kick my butt a little bit and get it done, you know?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something to um learning how to learn in a new area, whether
Oh,
it's
sure.
a spoken written language or a computer language or
Mm-hmm.
even Xcode, you know.
Mm.
Once you know the metaphors and the jargon and the the where the speed bumps are,
Yeah.
uh that next time and the next time and the next time gets easier and easier. It's less
Mm-hmm.
less unsettling.
Yeah.
I in my agency days, any new client project, when you start with like new blank Xcode project,
Mm.
I'd be like, well, this is it.
Yeah.
I this is the one I can't do.
Yeah. Yeah. Imposter syndrome. Do you have any advice for people feeling imposter syndrome
Yeah,
if they feel it
you
today
read my
or?
mind, yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
so we are not medical professionals. We are not licensed therapists. There are tons of incredible resources if you're feeling like a true imposter. So look for those. But if you're at work and you're dealing with just sort of a more reasonable level of self-doubt, I'll go back to feedback again and again. Like, it is difficult to ask for feedback, and often it's difficult to give feedback. But if you're struggling, if you're feeling self-doubt, you might be pleasantly surprised that your colleagues, your boss, your peers, your friends are feeling similar things. So really just like opening up the gates and having the confidence to ask, hey, how do you think I'm doing? Or I delivered this thing. Would you suggest I do something differently? What do you think about it? And hopefully you get some positive reinforcement from that.
Right.
Worst case, you get, negative news, but then at least and now you have something to work on instead of
Mm-hmm.
just vague anxiety.
Yeah. Yeah. And I agree with that 100%. I do feel like there also has to be recognition for the people who are just doing it themselves at home without very good feedback at all. These days, you got ChatGPT to tell you you're doing a great job, you know?
Oh man.
Um,
Oh, danger
but
zone.
for the people who feedback, is a little harder to come by, or maybe you're even just too shy to like ask for that feedback. Um, as someone who feels like they've kind of forced themselves, strong arm their way into this career path, I would say make sure to look back on what you've accomplished already, and remind yourself that that couldn't have happened unless you knew a little bit of something, right? Maybe you didn't understand it 100%.
Yeah.
Maybe there's still more to learn, and the truth is that's true for everyone. Even if you understand what a string is, you might not really understand, how that string is made up, at a deeper level, like by the time it gets to the processor,
Yeah.
how it gets converted into assembly code at some point. Does it get converted into assembly code? I don't even know.
Oh yeah.
Uh, but but if you feel like you don't really know what you're doing, chances are you know enough to get something done, and that is enough to feel valid about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Don't forget about your accomplishments, because um, they're what got you where you are today. You wouldn't be there
Yeah.
without them, and
That's a great point.
yeah, that's enough proof, really. At least
Yeah.
as far as the career track is concerned, and if they're gonna pay you money for what they expect you to be, if they think that's valid enough, it's got to be valid enough for you, right?
Yeah. Even if you got no feedback, you could look at, did the checks clear? Are you getting
Yeah.
paid from someone somewhere? Then it must
Right.
be good enough.
Could it be better? Hey, there's always room for improvement,
Yeah,
but
for sure. Yeah. No, that is great advice, and I've seen that in everything, in software, in
oh yeah.
professional, in hobbies, in
Mhm.
music, in art, in everything.
Mhm.
Everybody, including myself, seems to have this selective memory for what used to be. It's like,
Mm.
oh, I'm terrible. Well, if you looked at your sketchbooks
Hmm.
from 2 years ago, you
Hmm.
you were even worse. I promise.
Yeah, yeah. On the rare occasion, sometimes you're like, oh man, the golden years,
Oh no, yeah.
But
Well, we're all getting older someday.
yeah, so for me, like working in a creative kind of space, there are times that I look back on some of the music I made when I was younger, and I'm like, oh man, I gotta channel that kind of energy again, get into that mindset again. But the truth is, I didn't know what I was doing back then. And if I experiment enough and chip away at something enough, I can make something that I liked, you know, just as much as that back then. I can make something that I like just as much today. Um, it's yeah, I mean, it can go both ways. Your past self can validate yourself, or your past self can make you feel like you lost it. But
Oh,
if you
jeez.
could figure it out at some point before, you can figure it out again. There's nothing stopping you, unless something terrible happened. I'm doing that thing you mentioned
You
again.
can, we believe in you,
We believe in you.
unless you're
You
not
can do
good.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you can totally do it.
Unless.
Oh man. God, I was reading some you find stuff on the internet. It was some Substack that I think Jason Kotke linked to, and it was
Hmm.
just musings on aging. And
Hmm.
one of them was like, maybe it's better to be like a real garbage person in your 20s and 30s,
Hmm.
because then when you're older, it's all upside. If you were like out of shape and just terrible
Oh
uh
man.
physically and intellectually as a 20-year-old, then it's all upside. You can get
Uh,
better and better.
I will never subscribe to that. Oh man. I think that's the worst advice you could give a person. Jeez. Oh no.
So one last thing, an experiment, I guess, for the podcast.
Hmm.
I was I think I was updating an email from an email address for a contact of mine on Mac OS 10 or Mac OS Tahoe, and the contacts app in Tahoe is horrible.
Oh
I
yeah.
I'm pretty sure that Apple just ported over the one from iOS.
Mm.
And so there, like, you click on some things and it doesn't work. I wanted to edit and I ended up calling somebody that I didn't want to
Oh
call. Like,
wow.
it's a bad scene. So I looked around for contacts apps, and there's a bunch of ones built for like professional salespeople, people that have to maintain relationships,
Mm.
CRM managers, things like that.
Hmm.
Um, the most beautiful one, the most useful one I found was Card Hop by FlexiBits. They also make Fantastical. Looks great, but it's like $56
Oh
annually for
wow.
a license. And I love them. I support their work. Totally love the software, but it's not worth $56 to me.
Yeah, it feels a
So
little overpriced.
yeah, I wish them the best. Just it's not for me. So I feel like there's a space now that Tahoe's contacts app is terrible
Mm.
to build basically the previous version of the contacts app. Like I
Okay.
want to re-implement the contacts app from uh what was it? Sequoia, macOS
Ah.
Sequoia.
Okay.
And it started as a joke on Mastodon, and some of my friends said yeah, use Claude to write it and just bang it out.
Oh.
So I mean, I don't know what I'm gonna do, but this is an experiment. It's a project that has sufficient complexity to, it's not just a script. Like, this is an app, so it will
Hmm.
force me to actually open up Xcode and compile some stuff and figure things out. So maybe I'll try Claude. Maybe I'll just hack at it.
Hey, that's
Um,
exciting because
yeah,
you mentioned that you have been in the management space of iOS for a while. So,
exactly.
is this basically your first time getting back into development for a long time?
Yeah. I haven't pushed to production any real code in a long time. So
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Dusting
get
off
to
the toolbox there.
shake the cobwebs off. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
nice.
well, and this is part of, you're all accountability buddies for me, because now that I've said it out loud, I have to do something. So hopefully next week, or the following week, if I find time over the weekend, gonna open up Xcode, take a crack at it, see how bad the contacts API is. In my head, sort of brainstorming, I'm like, how hard could it be? I just have to use the contacts API, pull out the information, throw it on screen, do a little edit view. Piece of cake, right?
Mm, sounds like it. I
Uh,
I will absolutely encourage you to go about it any way that you want, but I am curious, do you think you'll use AI for it?
I'll try it out.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'll see. We'll see what I get. But
Have you
I'll report back. So
have you looked at
listeners can look
Xcode
forward to it.
recently?
Gosh, I've only opened it like here and there or accidentally, so
So
not really. No, this is all.
Xcode actually has an AI panel baked into it now.
Oh boy.
Yeah, yeah. And here's the truth. It actually, I mean, it's native Xcode access, right? Apple built it in.
Hmm.
And so it can actually consider multiple files versus like if you're using ChatGPT, it can only look at the current file you're on.
Yeah.
Um,
Cool.
I'm kind of curious if you try that. I'd be curious to hear what you think about that.
Yeah, yeah. I'll be coming in as a newbie again, because everything's changed.
Oh yeah.
And then all of our listeners and everyone at NSCoder can make fun of me, and I think it'll be good for everybody.
Oh man. You know, I I would love to hear how you do with Swift UI. Though no pressure. I know you're a veteran with these things, and so if you go UI kit, I won't blame you one bit,
Yeah,
but
do I have to use Swift UI?
I would
Okay,
say
that's another.
do it however you want. I think the app at the end of the day is what matters, and I'm sure there'll be plenty of lessons to learn along the way. No matter whether you're getting back into it or doing this regularly. But um, since you haven't touched Swift UI yet, that would just be a fun journey to go on with you.
Boy. Yeah, I'll be coming back saying like, "Can you believe this?" And you're like, "Yeah, yeah, everybody, that's just how it works." And I'm like, "Oh god."
Cool. Something to look
Yep.
forward to.
Oh boy. I'm already regretting it.
I'm rooting you on. You can do it.
Welcome to
NSCoder Chicago. NSCoder Chicago.
welcome to
NSCoder Chicago.
Well, that's been our podcast for the week. Thanks so much for listening. My name is Sean Walter.
And my name is David Vision. NSCoder Chicago is a monthly meetup. Join us on the last Tuesday of every month. More details available on the website, nscoder-chicago.com. Or you can find us on meetup.com by searching NSCoder Chicago Meetup, Apple Meetup, or anything similar to that. We hope to see you there.